evening, folks. Welcome back to another stream with me, Fluent Code, here live on Twitch and YouTube. Twitch TV and YouTube. Yes, that's right, for another relatively chilled out painting session, to be fair. Tonight, I did sort of, hang on, I've slightly changed my setup. I just need to make sure that this is in the correct place. Never mind. Listen. I was experimenting with the pop filter. I'm not entirely sure how the audio is going at the moment. I did a quick review of it earlier on and it sounded a bit choppy. I have moved everything round slightly. I am now at a desk of many arms and I kind of have to thread the needle in order to get to you there. But there is a method to the madness. And that method is because we've got our camera, we've got our this arm here is for our lamp, and then over here we've got this arm with our microphone on it, and it's there's a lot going on. The reason being is because on our chilled out painting sessions. Oh, hang on, let me just. Yeah, move to that one. Here we go, look. Hi. We have our here we go. We'll have a little bit of music right from the off with this one. I know we have been doing the start of the sessions with me forgetting to turn it on. I've had it in my background. I'm going to have to be careful of that as well. Keep knocking the microphone. Let's see if we can raise that up and move that out a little bit so that it's not quite so easy to hit. And then we're okay. We're okay. It's not ideal, but it gives me a nice view of the painting area, and it is a comfortable painting position. I've had a bit of a change around on my desk today. I've spent all day messing around with this and getting it just right. The old printer has gone in the bin. Various different things have been moved around and got rid of so that we can do this properly. We can have a nice setup here. While I was doing all of that, I was thinking about what I'm going to paint for you, because I've been on a bit of a rampage of different things. It's not that I haven't got lots of different things here for you tonight, but we're going to maybe move ahead with a little project that has been sat on my desk for a long time. And I've kind of put it off, but it is one of those things that are just, they're so incredibly out there that I just find them absolutely adorable. And that is these bad boys. These are, oh God, that's going to wash out very easily light-wise, isn't it? Zena! Hi there, welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the first message. These are mouselings. These are Reaper mouselings. They're kind of rough and ready plastic models that I've done quick and dirty with my usual painting scheme, which is a quick spray of black. Hit them with a zenithal spray, so we still get lots of this nice black area with the grey, and then run over them with a quick dry brush, and then we're going to go and put some contrast paints on. Now, the reason I love these is that you just have the stereotypical archetypal fantasy tropes. I mean, this is Mouse Conan, clearly, and at the same time we've also got Mouse Red Sonja there as well. in her little chain bikini, which is kind of weird, but also immensely cool at the same time. We've got little mouseling rogues with just the tiniest little triangle of a dagger there. We've got mouseling wizards and warlocks and what have you. The reason I'm doing these is because these are absolutely fantastic for me to get started with my little one. She adores these models and she's been asking for me to paint them up for some time now, so it's about time that I got my arse in gear and got these things painted. I'm going to be doing some quite basic colour schemes on these, where they are very similar to the promotional images from Reaper Miniatures, just because if it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm sure anybody who's been here before knows the deal. One paintbrush and a big tub there of contrast paints, and I will go ahead and knock those ones out slowly over the course of the stream. Have got a couple of other things here for you as well, and we were working on this guy, who is a real blast from the past, the old Hero Quest sorcerer. I've still yet to do his flesh tones. That is planned. I will get them done probably this evening. But I did mention when I brought him up before, the fact that I had managed to get hold of a resculpted version, resculpted and recast. Now this guy is just something else. He's sort of anatomically correct, unlike this poor bugger, who suffers very much from Games Workshop of the 80s-ism, which is giant hands and giant head and everything else is kind of out of proportion, whereas this guy who's been resculpted, it's a really fantastically done. I don't think that he casts these anymore. I don't think that he makes these anymore. For one thing, it is kind of derivative, and I'm not sure that he's in a very good position legally, but that's we'll get on to those later. I have also got a couple of slightly nice larger miniatures that I have been looking to paint up for my D&D campaign. Namely, we've got two cracking great big storm giants here, which we're going to see about giving them a coat of paint, possibly this evening, or possibly over this long weekend. We've got some nice sessions coming up. I'm a little bit worried by the way my Zenithal has left these cloaks, or this guy's cloak, but it's something we'll just deal with. So, without further ado, I'm going to get on with it. Now I'm going to pick one of these mouselings, and I think I am going to pick... a mouseling rogue. Lovely little fella. The easiest way for me to do this is to break out some browns. Some browns and some greys are going to be our colours for the actual meat. What do we got? I need my contrast checker up as well. Because of course I do, because I can't do anything without this. So Space Force Grey is nice, Griff Charger Grey is probably a bit too woolly for that. Let me just take this pop filter off, because that's now getting in my way. Do love to be prepared for a stream. And there was me thinking I was doing the right thing by popping that on. Get it? Popping that on. When I clearly wasn't. Right, we're going to want Wildwood for some of the darker ones. We are going to... this is going to be a noisy stream, I believe. Not intentionally noisy, but, you know, unfortunately noisy. Basilicanum, Militarum green. Need that. What have I got on where? Wildwood and Black Templar. I'll probably need those. Basilicanum grey. I'm probably going to need that. Space Wolves grey. I'm probably going to want that one. Well, we're all over the place tonight, and we haven't even started. Now we're going to want some browns as well. So we're going to have Snakebite Leather, Cygor Brown, which is the really dark one we found the other day. Gore-grunter Fur, which we quite enjoyed. Was it Gore-grunter Fur that was really light, or I can't actually remember now. Okay, I think that is going to be all of the colours that we need for now. So we'll pop those to one side. We're going to pop that to one side as well. You can't see what I'm talking about, but just trust me that I'm popping something that's unimportant to one side. Now, that being said, noses and ears do need a little bit of flesh. I think a sort of little light pinky type flesh is going to be where we need to go with it. So let's just have a look. What flesh have we got? I think it's probably going to be Dark Oath or Guilliman flesh. I think they're probably the most appropriate ones. Now what I might do in that case is get both of them, Dark Oath, Guilliman. Fire Slayer, yeah, maybe we'll grab Fire Slayer as well. And I'm gonna do a batch of, excuse me while you get some noise. I'll talk over it if I can, if you can still hear me. I'm going to do a batch of flesh painting, so I'm going to do all the noses and the ears that I can in one go, and then I don't have to worry about them. Of course, now that I've moved my microphone, that's actually now closer to the noisemaker, and I might need to think about some other way of doing this. And finally, a bit of Fire Slayer. So, what I'm thinking is open all three at once and sit there and just dab in, basically. Here we go. Right, that is terrible noise making that you guys shouldn't have to deal with, but now that you have, I'm sure you're used to it and you'll be fine. Right. Let's have a little look then. So we're going to go on this guy. Now this guy literally only has his little muzzle in here. Everything else on him is covered up. Yo, thank you. So there we go. That's pretty much all I need to do on him for. I mean, it's quite basic, but you'll get the picture as we move further on. So basically, I'm going to just go ahead and do a bunch of these. Oh, tails. I forget tails on every single time I've ever looked at these. They all have these just gorgeous little tails modelled on the model. Some of them are modelled on the base and some of them are a little sticky out. Now, I always thought that, I mean, I could well be wrong, I always thought that hairless tails were rats and furry tails were mice. And these are definitely supposed to be mouselings, not ratlings. So maybe I am doing that completely wrong. Completely wrong. We've got an awesome little wizard here. So we're going to do the inside of his ears in this fleshy colour. And that's just so that when we actually come to paint the rest of the model, we've already done the ears. We can work around these when it comes to the fur. And then we're going to hit his little wizardy nose. And then we're going to find his little ratty tail as well. They are quite ratty, these tails. I don't think it's a massive issue, but it's something I'm going to bear in mind. Okay, so that's 2 down. Let's switch up our colouring a little bit to... Let's go with some Guilliman, and I don't care the fact that I'm mixing paints. This is completely irrelevant to these models. It doesn't matter in the slightest. There we go. In the ears. They love it in the ears. And then where's his... Has he even got a tail? This one doesn't have a tail. Oh, I mean, I don't actually mind that. It's kind of... So that one was a samurai. We've then got a lovely maiden of... I mean, this is clearly like a supposed to be a maiden in distress, I'm guessing, but you know, perhaps as I'm intending these for use with my daughter, we might try and avoid some of these stereotypes as we play our games. And she can be an adventurous maiden of some sort. She's got a lovely little tail on her as well, so we're going to grab that tail and just dot that in there. Now, although these are... I think these are Reaper bones, which is a very curious sort of plastic. It's sort of yeah. What the hell is that? Oh, that's my pop filter again. Now it's getting in my way on the floor. Good lord! Can't even do anything right with this one, can we? It's a very weird plastic on these. It's sort of a bit wibbly and rubbery, and it's surprising how difficult it is to get paint to stick to it. I think that's partly a me problem. There's various different instructions out there about how you're supposed to wash down the plastic and what have you before you start, and if you don't do this, you're going to have a hard time getting the paint to stick. And of course, I know better than all of that. So here we go. I'm going to just whack straight in with getting the models primed. Oh, and yeah, that's turned into shit for me. So if you do happen to grab any of these, then please do follow the guidance that you get with the minis or online, because the last thing you really want to be doing is getting some paint on it and then realizing that it's all coming back off because of some mold release agent or some crap that's on the models. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to model by model by model. We've got a whole pile of them here. I'm just going to hit 2 of them at a time with this these colors that I've got here, because none of this flesh color really matters with the models as far as I can see. It's not really making or breaking the flavor of each one. just a little bit on there to emphasize, and where we see an open pore. Oh, I didn't actually look for that on any of the other models, did I? Have any of the other ones got an open pore? No, so we're all okay. We'll just carry on with how we were doing it and pretend that that never happened. How does that look? Okay, we need to come up a little bit. So now, unfortunately, these bad boys are not going to fit in my painting handle. So we are just going to have to make do with. Where is that going? Holding on to them. And this one, you can see his ears. The other rogue, the last rogue, his ears were inside his hood, whereas this one, they're outside. Oh well. That's fine by me. Now, obviously what I'm going to do is when I come back with their main fur colour, I will just neaten up around the where the nose is, because that's quite quite an important transition there from the nose into main fur. But if you don't get that right, the whole model won't look right, basically. Right. So what have we had there? We've had our Conan, we've got a wizard, we've got a maiden, we've got two rogues. We've done both of the rogues. We've had a samurai. This one is a Robina hood. Basically, it's a female ranger. She's very much in the Robin Hood style. Mostly because the male counterpart there is also a very Robin Hood style, even down to the sort of peaked cap that he wears. I'll show you that one in just a moment. It is quite a style, to be honest with you. He's probably deserving of a medal all by himself just for wearing that hat. I'll show you in a moment. Now, my reason for this painting style, I have gone over this previously in the stream. Yes, it's quick, it's dirty, it's simple. It's never going to take home any prizes. However, believe it or not, I'm not after prizes. What I am after is slaying the grey. I love that expression. I can't remember who I've seen that expression from, but it's an absolutely perfect expression. It's time to slay the grey, to get rid of some of that absolutely bonkers pile of shame that I know a lot of us have. We don't like to talk about it, or some of us don't like to talk about it. Some of us like to boast about the pile of shame that we have as if it's some sort of some sort of badge of honour. I don't feel it is. I feel quite ashamed by my pile of shame, because I used to paint, and when I had no disposable income, my pile of shame was non-existent, because you wanted to play with what you had, and most shops had a 3-colour and based rule. If you didn't have it 3-coloured and based, you weren't allowed to use it in the shop, or the gaming wherever you were. So consequently, you had no money to play with, but all of the models that you had were painted. And now it's the complete opposite. I've got much more disposable income, as in some, and I've got a massive pile of models that haven't been painted, and I really need to get over that. It's a crap state of affairs. I am slowly starting to pluck away with the D&D models because I've gathered up this cracking great collection of D&D models, and now I am finally getting around to painting some of them. And I think what I might do is I might run a special one-shot based on these models, because these mouselings are fantastic. I think that quite possibly that's a great scenario for a one-shot, is getting your mouselings out. Well, that Fyreslayer flesh is very dark, isn't it? I might need to wick some of that away. Yeah, I think I will. Yeesh. Don't think I've got much room to wick when it comes to the nose, though. That's almost brown. And this is the one I was talking about, the Mouseling Ranger with the Robin Hood hat. I am trying to do this without putting any more paint on the brush, because apart from his tail, it's a very dark colour, or it's coming up very dark. The first time that I used these, it didn't come up quite so dark, I feel, on the first couple of mouselings that I did, but now it's coming up very dark indeed, and I don't like that. But as I've said before, there is nothing here that is going to make me second guess a miniature. I don't think I will turn around now and repaint any of these. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit hard to describe. Once I've slayed the grey, I don't feel like changing the paint at all. The grey is slayed. Carry on, do another one. Right, I'm not going to use any more Fyreslayer. So we are just down to Dark Oath. Back in the tin you go. We're down to Dark Oath, which is, I believe, the slightly lighter of the two. And we are on Guilliman Flesh. Now this one has almost no, in fact it has no colour on it, apart from a tiny little bit on his paw there and the tail. We're just going to dot that in because this one is a ninja. And as we all know, ninjas never show their noses. What do you mean you didn't know that? That is part of the ninja code. Part of the ninja code. Never show your nose. Right. Now the geisha, she's going to end up with with a painted white face, I believe. Let me just see if I've got a picture of her. I don't know if I've got a painted picture of this one. That's unfortunate. There's some other rather lovely models that I don't have, which I'm going to have to look at getting. There's a few more in the range. Although I'm not sure which ones are actually available anymore, because they are, I think, don't know if they are still for sale. Okay, right. I'm going to leave the geisha one, mostly because I don't know how to paint her. And we'll move on to our wizard. Clearly a wizard. He's a wizard, Harry. This one I'm going to be quite careful of, because he has got glasses on his noses. Just pull that round the glass. Can I move that so that you can see better? Hopefully I can. And then when I'm in this position, yes, that's better. Okay, and then we've also got his little tiny little mouse paw there, and his mouse tail. Don't want to forget. Oh, that's a long old tail for a wizard, isn't it? In one moment, I'm going to have to go and let the cat out. It's not a euphemism. I'm going to actually let the cat out, because she comes and she does like to sleep in this here computer room. Mostly because it's warm and the other cat won't come in here. Don't know why. I think he's terrified of the noise of the computer, as in noise that I can't hear. It's not loud enough in here. Come on in, cat. So we have our Valkyrie, and I can't really see her other ear. I'm just gonna try and get some paint down there somewhere, so that anybody who looks far too closely is going to see some colour in there, but I can't be accurate at all with it. And another one without nary a tail to be seen. Then we have our Mouseling King. Probably we'll just call him a noble of some sort. Well, I mean, he has got a crown on, I guess, so he can be the king. But in the campaign, you know, you might meet the Mouseling King, you might not. Who can tell where the Mouseling King will crop up next? Well, probably most people, he's in his counting house counting out his money. Is that Is that not how it goes? I mean, that's how the rhyme goes, I think. Now, there is a tiny little bit of a problem. We'll see how that pans out, but there is a piece of plastic where there's obviously been a bit of movement and it's broken the primer. Just in there and just in there. We'll see how that comes out. It might be a problem, it might not. We're not sure yet. We'll see what happens. Right, so the reason I've done this is so that we have a bit of a clear run at these. I'm going to sort of pick one at a time, and they are quite simple models, so we should be able to just sort of bang them out, as it were. Yeah, ideally we're just going to be able to go, yep, that's done. So a quick coat of the fur colour, and then pick out any details and what have you. That's what I'd like to be able to do. Whether or not it actually pans out that way, I don't know, we'll have to see. But if we've got all of the skin, I say skin, it's not really skin, is it? Well, yeah, I mean the fleshy part, okay, then it is skin. If it's fleshy parts, it's skin, basically. What am I talking about? I don't bloody know. Oop. Right, let's have a look at our which ones have we got first? So we've got our flesh colours out of the way. That should be all we need of those flesh colours. So we'll probably be safe to put them all back in the pot. Now, Shyish purple. That's very dark, isn't it? Magos purple is quite light and pink. Leviathan is a very dark blue, and then Volupus pink is a lot lighter. So, basically what I'm looking at is the first one that crops up, the Samurai. And he's down with grey and then various different shades of purple all over him. It's a bit difficult to see. I'm going to need to move the camera again, I think. I need to get the camera here somewhere. But no, we're fine. So we've got quite a dark purple on his robes. We have quite a bright pink on his lapels, and then a sort of lavender purple on some of these other bits. So let's see about the grey on his flesh first. No, let's start with the lightest pinks. I'm not sure which one is the lightest pink. Good lord, I can't actually even make sense of any of this. Right, Magos purple is probably the lightest colour. Volupus pink is the mid, even though it doesn't look that way. Let me just check on another model where I've used... Oh, no, I don't need to. Don't need to. Magos is the lightest. We'll trust what our guidance says. So I use a nice website where somebody has painted a whole load of the same base in every different contrast paint. But what they've also done is they've done them in all the various undercoats that you might have, so Grey Seer, Wraithbone and Corax White. And obviously I'm in kind of a mix of Grey Seer and Corax White because I use a grey primer and then a white highlight, so it's kind of it's kind of right. Okay, so we have a tiny little bit around his top knot. Can you believe it? The cat wants to come back in. She can't make up her mind. Bloody animal. And then we have these lapels here. Now they're going to go up as far. How far are they going to go? Would they go all the way over to his back? Oh, that's interesting. Hadn't thought of that. I think they might. There's no real reason for that to transition to a different colour, is there? So what we'll do is we'll paint all of that in this same fantastic pinky purple. And then we're going to take that right the way over his back as well, because like I say, I can't see a position where that... See, that just runs straight over his back. So the top of his, whatever we call this garb that he's wearing, I mean, it's not a kimono, is it? Might be a kimono, I don't know. There we go. Right, I'm not going to do his absolute collar though, that's going to stay as is. Nice, there we go. Right. And then his flesh is going to be a grey colour. These little bits here are lavender. All of the rest of it is in Shyish. And then a black belt, I think. We'll pop them down. So we then have the lavendery colour. Now I am just going to carry on with these, even though, or do I? See, the trouble is with contrast paints is that they do take a little while to dry, so perhaps I need to have another one lined up on each of them. I think that's only fair, is to go for it, you know. Yeah, okay. Right, in that case then, we're going to have a look at our little rogue. Cheeky little rogue. With this guy, I'm planning on a dark blue hood and cloak with a dark red scarf, a little metallic sword going on, brown fur, and then obviously bags and what have you picked out in a brown as well. So we want a relatively dark blue. Let's have a look. What have we got? I think Leviathan is going to be too dark, so I am going to use Ultramarines. Now, I think this might be another one that we are breaking a virgin. No, we've had that opened in the past. I think we are actually getting very close to not having any virgin pots left of our contrast paint. We've used a tiniest smidging of a colour, of each colour, at least once by this point. Now excuse me, because the shaker's going to go on, so sorry about that. I do find that contrast paints really do benefit from a good shake. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't got one, to invest in a Vortex paint shaker. That is the perfect colour blue for what I was wanting to achieve. Now we're going to be careful not to go too far in, because we want to maintain that brown when we come to paint him. Probably should have painted the fur first, but everyone's a critic and it's always better with the benefit of hindsight. So try and avoid getting it on that scarf as well now, haven't I? This is like a weird Muzak version of the Knight Rider theme tune, so I'm a bit... don't know what's going on here in the background. I wonder if that'll get me copyright struck. Obviously I'm a non-monetized channel, so it doesn't really matter, but it is just a little bit frustrating as you're finding your feet, and you panic when you see you've got issues, copyright issues, and then it goes, but there's no real actual problems with it. So okay, thanks for panicking me and all that. However, this is the first noticeable song that I've found on whatever it is I found on YouTube to put on for you. So right, that blue is actually coming out a cracking shade. That's really, really nice. Yeah, I really should figure out some way of popping these on like a paint pot or something for finger clearance, because holding on to them is a bit of a pain. They are quite tiny, as you may have noticed. They are very, very small figures, these ones, but that's kind of some of the charm of them. You know, they are mice after all, so them being small is perfectly acceptable. Well, that's a bit loud, isn't it? You'll be getting doubled up. Right, hold on. Turn you down a bit. There you go. Now you shouldn't be able to hear it. So, sorry, you should still be able to hear the music, but you shouldn't be able to hear it through my mic, because I really can't be bothered to paint with my headphones on. Okay, there we go. They are very difficult to hold on to. I'm gonna struggle a little bit with that as we progress these guys. Okay, well, I just lean in to touch in where my klutzy great fingers were holding on to them. Right, let's have a look if we've got any of the others to hand. There are some others in the range that I am really, really enthusiastic about looking for. I'll see if I can pick them up at some point. And some people have done some outstanding paint jobs on them, which I don't have the skill for. So never mind. Now, I think we should do we want a kind of blonde mousy look, so I think Agorist Dunes for our little female ranger, which is this one. Now I'm a bit unsure with her because she definitely has like separate coiffed hair, which looks quite blonde. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it, yeah, no, it's definitely a bit more orangey than that. So what I'm going to do is I will do the whole mouse fur deal in this colour, and then for her hair I am just going to come along and give her the tiniest hint of orange to it to spice it up a little bit, because we all know that redheads are a little bit spicy. I do love these mousing figures. Now the details on them are a little bit soft. I think it's a result of the plastic that they've used for this Bones range, but I mean my entire painting recently has been soft detailed PVC style plastic D&D miniatures, so this is not something new to the fold for me at the moment, so I'm quite used to it. And honestly, these are probably more detailed than some of the D&D miniatures are. Now I have actually picked up some of the Nolzur's miniatures, and they are of a remarkably better quality than the WizKids ones from the board games. It's not surprising. The Nolzur's ones are aimed more at the hobbyist rather than a board game type market, so it's not that surprising. But it is quite nice to see some slightly more detailed miniatures, so when you actually do pick out a character that you want to play and you decide that you're going to go out and get a miniature for them, you do have some options out there which aren't just horrible tacky plasticky looking things like the stuff that I'm normally painting. Oh, I'm just slipping off the screen again. I really do need to make a conscious effort to get the miniature back in front of the camera, as my failing eyesight starts to become a thing. It's definitely something I'm going to have to look at. Right, now we've got a tiny bit underneath there. Oh, is that my watch telling me that it's time to move? Unfortunately, fitness watches don't understand the principle of streaming, which is you stay mostly in one place. Although that's not true. I have seen some quite high energy streamers out there who dive and bounce and tilt around the place, but I don't think that would be particularly conducive to miniature painting. I might well be wrong. Oh man, it is really a case of where the hell do you hold these things? That's the problem. But it's clearly a me problem, not a you problem. Right, there we go. That is our blondie coloured fur all dealt with. She's looking pretty cool now. I will come along and hit the hair with just a slight shade of orange. In fact, I might just do that now because I do need a little bit of orange there. Right, and I've still got some of the other colour on, so just want the slightest touch of it. Just to try and blend that in all over there. Oh, that's actually worked quite nicely, look. Just enough to tint the brush almost. Wow, I've never really tried that with contrast before, to actually mix them while they're wet on the model. That's a whole new ball game. Okay, that's pretty cool actually. I'm pleased with how that's coming out. Right, I think we can probably go back with our purple, back to our purple dude. And the way I'm going to do it is with this Shyish purple. Now the samurai, but also our friend the wizard, he's also going to be quite purple because it's only fitting and fair that a wizard be purple. Both of these guys are going to be grey. In fact, they're pretty much going to be the same grey. So, yeah, these two are pretty much going to get painted together from this point on. Ugh, such hard models to hold. God damn. Fists of ham and fingers of butter, that's me. Now, it's a bank holiday weekend here in the UK, so I hope any of my fellow UK watchers are already at least a few beers in on this. God, what day is it? Friday? Friday into Saturday, knowing that come Monday morning you haven't got to get up for work. Although, mind you, if you are already planning a 4-day bender, then I'm pretty sure a hangover is the last of your worries. Now, I have actually gone and booked myself next week off, so I might have some daytime streams, which are quite unusual for me. Almost everything I do is late at night, although I am trying to maintain consistency rather than quantity. I think that's quite important at this stage of my streaming, is to get a good consistent time scale of when I'm going to stream rather than how many times can you chuck out a stream. God, that is such a lovely colour. Right, now all we've got to do is the wizard hat. Probably the most important bit is getting the wizard hat right. I really should have probably stuck him to the top of a paint pot or something like that. All of these models should probably have been stuck to the top of a paint pot or something like that. Who's got that kind of blue tack to waste? I don't know about you, but it's become a precious commodity in my house since my daughter learned that you could just stick everything to her walls. Yeah. That is such a magic robe colour. Oh, showing the model off is really, really hard, because getting him to a position where you can actually show him off is properly awkward without splurging the paint everywhere. Now this guy should hopefully be a little bit easier to do, because we've got, God, I say that, these robes down here to do. There's also this tiny bit here. No, I refuse to get a smaller brush, so that'll just have to go as it goes, like so. And then what I'll do is, once I've got rid of a little bit of this off the brush, I can go back and wick it off. We'll put a bit down here, and just wick it. Better. Obviously, a samurai is a class of fighter I've never actually used, even though, you know, as a boy born in the 80s, pretty much everything about my childhood and coming of age was devoted to samurais and ninjas and stuff like that, because, you know, that's what young boys in the UK did at that time. Right. Bear with me just a moment, because the cat is howling at the door again, even though I just let her out. Come on. Do not jump up in front of the camera. Nobody wants to see you. Oh. Ugh. Quite often with these very soft detailed miniatures and contrast paints, is working out where you need to stop painting. So for example, in there, I think should be included as part of these robes. Just going to run that up there and fade that in. Now we've just got the tiniest little bit around here as well. I don't want to get his scabbards or whatever they're called for that kind of sword. Right, how's that looking? Well, best that I've ever done, but terrible at the moment. Right, again, he's going to be looking hot to trot in grey. Now, the only other thing that I can think of to use some of this paint on now, I want this on here. I think it's a berry of some kind. It's certainly portrayed as that in a lot of the artwork for them. But a lot of it has got a really nice sort of colour transition, almost like a Citadel gem. You know how Citadel paint their gemstones and what have you. So there's some really, really nice versions of him with sort of dark into light. Now, I think that for that, I would be best to start off with the lightest colours and work my way up to dark. So he's going to wait a little while before he gets done. Now, let's see about putting a little bit more colour on our rogue, where we can do his fur. And I'm going to go for a lovely snakebite leather. Real nice mid-tone. I don't think he needs to be too dark at all, because he's very much a shadowed kind of guy. Look, he's all tucked away in the shadows there. Snakebite leather is a bit of a weird colour, to be honest with you, but maybe it wasn't the best colour choice for him, in fact. No, I think he looks alright, actually. Yeah, I think that will be an absolutely fine colour choice. These little bags we will do in a slightly darker colour when we get round to that. I love how simplistic his sword is. It's almost like a low poly kind of affair. Like somebody has specifically modelled it in low poly mode, which I just find fascinating. I think that's so well done. It's just such a simple shape going on there. In fact, that whole model is such a simple shape. And the other rogue is fantastic with just his tiny little triangle dagger. Just pull him out and show you that there. That tiny little triangle dagger is just fantastic. I love that. Excellent. Right. We'll just try and get a little bit more material in there. That's cool. That's fine. That's absolutely what I was looking for. Right. Who else have we got? I think that the one we were just talking about here would probably do quite well in snakebite leather as well. There we go. That's got the face in there nicely. Only a tiny little bit spilt onto the the cloak, but what I'll do is I'll just even that out by sort of overdoing it even more, but making it to a sort of where it looks evened out, if you get what I mean. I don't blame you if you don't. There we go. Tease that paint up there as well. I mean, this guy, ooh, moving the camera with me hat again. This guy almost looks more like an Ewok than a mouse, but it's not my fault, Gov, I promise. Yeah. Right, now we just got to get his ears. Let's forget them. Most important part of the model, making sure his ears get back. After all, what's a mouse without his ears? I'm just gonna feather that in because that is something that I must remember when I come to do these ones with ears. I say these ones with ears, they're all with ears because they're mice, they've all got ears. Is that there's often a little bit of fur just running into the ears, so just to pick that out. Right. Now, who are we looking at next? We have a couple of these that we could look at doing. We've got, oh, there's some more out. Definitely going to have to look up some more of these. There's a couple here which I quite like, that they almost sort of pair off. So you got the Viking and the Valkyrie, for example, are almost a pairing. So I'll need to, oh, look at that, showing them off. I'll need to try and keep them together when we paint them so that they're in a sort of pair. Then you've got the lady and the noble, or the king, maybe even king and queen. Yeah, you can see what I was worried about, where that primer has come off on his tail. His tail looks a bit scabies-y almost, but we'll live with that. So those two, I want them to have a sort of paired colouring as well. we have Conan and Sonia. These two that we'll try and make them a bit of a pairing. Try and keep them looking pretty good together. And then we've got various different wizards. One of them's a wizard, one of them's a wizard, one of them's a sorcerer, one of them's a warlock, let's say that, shall we? And then we've got the druid. I think these are both some form of druid. Really, really nice little pairing of models there as well. The guy with a bee. Obviously the rogues go hand in hand, so I will be trying to get them to look kind of the part. We've got the samurai. I don't know whether the samurai and the ninja are supposed to go together, or the samurai and the geisha. I can't remember which one was which. And then we've got the two rangers, obviously. I think the samurai and the wizard might have gone together because they're in a sort of colour matched pair now, so maybe the ninja and the geisha go together. We'll try and see if we can get them to look something like a pairing. In fact, it might have been an idea to paint them as male and... No, I'm not quite sure how that would work, but never mind. Right, we have a requirement for some grey mice. I think that Space Wolf Grey or Griff Charger Grey, rather than going straight for Basilicanum. I think Basilicanum is going to look too dark. Or maybe, not sure. Maybe Basilicanum is the right one for this. In fact, they're both quite dark colours, so yeah, we are going to go with Basilicanum. Now, our little mouseling wizard. Yeah, Basilicanum's fine for this, I think. An easy breezy way to paint is this contrast. I know people get their flaps in a tizzy over this, but my main aim is to get something done that can appear on the tabletop, rough and ready as it may be, ready to go. And this fits the bill. I mean, look at that. That is 2 minutes worth of work to get an effect that might take me 5 hours of traditional painting. I mean, the model itself is probably not big enough to actually warrant 5 hours, but to achieve a similar effect could take that long. Why would I put myself through it? I know, everyone's going to go, ooh, contrast paint is cheating. Well, colour me a cheater in that case. Honestly, I don't care. If it's cheating, then I'm a cheat. So now, apart from painting in his his magic wand, and possibly, if I follow the imagery on here, possibly painting in a star and a moon on his hat, although maybe not a star and a moon, because that might be a bit communist. Maybe, I don't know. Oh man, he looks badass. Such a samurai Chad with that top knot. Dropped him again. Although actually I think that's the first time I've dropped this one. There we go, and just pick out his little handsies there. Little tiny mouse handsies. Oh, there, we're rubbing some of the paint off. Problem with not having anything to hold on to. Yeah, that's two little tiny mouse handsies all done and dusted. There we go. Oh, and hitting the camera again. I must watch out for that. Oh, there's a tiny bit of flash that I missed there. It's going to be really, really awkward. I will see if I can trim that off, but that's another one nearly done. Only a couple more colours on him now. This is our other roguey thief, and this one is actually going to be in a grey. Oh, just a slip of the brush there. Quite a nice colour when it actually gets in there. A couple of little handsies, and then this one's got a couple of earsies as well. finally we'll have these mouselings done. I have had these models for years, absolute donkey's years, and a couple of times I've used them to play various different little games, such as Hero Quest, that sort of stuff. And my daughter has gone, oh, could we just, haven't you got any painted ones? And I'm like, no, not at the moment, bud. You'll have to play with them unpainted. So finally, I'm going to be able to put these in front of her and go, ta-da! Which is just such an amazing feeling, let me tell you. Being able to do that for your little one and going, yeah, I painted them. That's a special feeling. Oh, just want to pick out the middle of his ear there. Like I say, there's a tiny little bit on each of them in the middle of the ear. There we go. He's looking pretty good. Okay, who else have we got? Right, I reckon we can probably find a green now for our Rangers. Let's have a look. What sort of green do we reckon will look good on our Rangers? I reckon it wants to be quite a strong one. I reckon it might even be Warp Lightning, to be honest with you. I mean, we almost want it to be an overpowered green. I think maybe Warp Lightning might be the best for them. Well, we'll soon find out, won't we? Let's have a look. Right. A little bit back it in there. Is that too green? Oh, I don't know. It's a sort of almost a Robin Hood Men in Tights kind of green, isn't it? Which is actually exactly what I'm going for. That's actually perfect. Make sure that I can get that on screen. Is it perfect, or does it need to be a shade darker? Weirdly enough, I think this might be a case of come back over it with something like Creed Camo and go from there. So almost do a second coat with a sort of knockback shade, almost a different color, but we're using a different color to knock back what we've just painted. It's kind of hard to explain, really. We'll see. It might work, it might not. If it does, be very proud and maybe a little bit boastful. If it doesn't, it's all your fault. Bigger boys did it and ran away. That would be my excuse. What was Xena's excuse? A wizard did it. I think that was the one. A wizard did it. I can remember once I used the bigger boys did it and ran away excuse, and that excuse went all the way up to a story in the paper, and as I'm sat there with the reporter, my dad leaned over and he went, "I know you made it up, you little shit." Just not loud enough for the reporter to hear, not loud enough for anybody else to hear. It was literally just between me and he was a bastard at times. He is quite funny about it. There we go. That's our little Ranger dude. Now our little Ranger dudette. And weirdly, I think she's one of the only one of these mouse things which has actually got like pants on. I suppose the boy mouse it's a bit like Donald Duck, isn't it? Donald Duck doesn't wear trousers. But well, in actual fact neither does Daisy, I'm pretty sure. But perhaps these model makers are maybe viewing it a little bit more. This might happen to be in front of parents for a bit longer than a cartoon, so perhaps we should make it so that her under area is covered. I don't know, could be way off the mark there. Wondering where's the equality in that. She gets pants and our male ranger doesn't. He's going to catch himself a death of cold. Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she looks a lot like Sharp in his green jacket. Whoa. Nearly had my first contrast paint spill there, folks. That would have been a travesty. A nightmare. Over my beautiful desk. My homemade beautiful desk. I'm so proud of this desk. Right. What do we do here? have some of my... Oh my god, my tea's almost cold already. Oh, I wonder. Oh, they have expanded the range since I last bought some of these. Have they? No, they haven't. Not properly. Ah, they're changing around some of the way that they're organised, I guess. Lara Croft. Mousing Adventuress. Mousing Bard, Thief, Knight. Thanksgiving mousings. Mousing Wizard, Archer and Warrior. I might need to have that as well. And then the mousing Pirate, Savage and Duelist, yeah. Yes, I might need to buy this other set. There's a little case of Mouseling Heroes, although it's currently out of stock. Ah, all of the old good ones are out of stock. Okay, let's break open some red. You'll get that one, Flesh Tearers red. And then we're going to paint our Sneaky Beaky Thief with his lovely red scarf. Here. Such a classic colour, isn't it? That blue and red together. It looks superb. Nice that this scarf is actually got a fair bit of it, so that we actually get to see a decent chunk of this red on the model. As I say, it's a bank holiday weekend here. We've pretty much the whole of the UK will be doing Sweet FA over Easter, as usual. I will be attempting to replace the wishbones on my wife's, the front wishbones on the wife's car, which is always a fun job, because I really, really, really want to be doing car maintenance on a on a bank holiday when I could be nicely sat in the pub or just chilling out at home with a beer and a Saturday afternoon movie. But no, I mean, unfortunately it does need doing, and it is quite a reliable car, so I don't want to piss it off. I also don't really want to be paying somebody else to do it, because who got the money for that? Not me, that's for sure. Oh, that red is just gorgeous. Look at that on him. That looks lovely, that does. Happy with that. Bit in there was supposed to be red as well, but we painted it grey. He painted it grey. Yeah, I like that model. He's very cool. Now, what else did we have? We had this dude here who is also going to be in a red tunic. We can say tunic when it hasn't got trousers, can't we? He's... I think that's probably quite appropriate, isn't it? Tunic? Maybe it's just a jumper, who knows? The guy who sculpted it and their mother. So as he's got a B, I'm going to assume that this is intended to represent something like a swarm keeper druid. I can't actually think of anything else that this model could represent, really. If you can, let me know, and I'll be sure to ignore your ideas or pass them on, depending upon how silly they are. It's a bit weird because he's got a hood. Is the hood set? No, the hood is part of the cloak, I guess. Yeah, it looks it. Meh, who knows? Any other reds? Any other reds? Any other reds? Well, we have a warlock kind of, or mage. A mage. I mean, he's got a spell book. That instantly cries wizard to me. I don't think wizards suit red robes, to be honest with you. Probably something a bit more darker, a bit more studious for a wizard. Sorcerer, yeah, sorcerer definitely is red robes all day long. let's have a look at this this orb thing again, shall we? Right, what we're going to do is we are going to go with Magos Purple. Volupus Pink. And Shaiish Purple. Right, that's our three colours. Now, this is going to be fun. Let's try this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lightest colour down at the bottom, even though that is already pre-shaded. So maybe this isn't going to work for shit. Now we come in with a little bit of Volupus. And then finally, over the top of it, I'm going to put Shaiish. Try and blend those together a little bit. Very difficult because that Volupus is dry almost instantly because it was on there such a thin layer of it. Well, it's not exactly Golden Demon winning, but that will do on there. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that. Now, purple. No, purple is a bit ostentatious for a wizard, isn't it? However, while we have got it, the pink is very much what I think a lovely maiden might might wear. Which one, the bright pink or the dark pink? I think it's going to have to be the bright pink, isn't it? Let's go with that. There we go. much pink do we think she would be wearing? That is the question. I mean, is it all pink? A little bit of pink. I don't know. Well, I think we're going to find out a little bit by going around here with quite a lot of pink. Maybe leaving a tiny little bit of border and trim not pink. Ah, bollocks, I'm putting the wrong paint. Stuck my brush in the wrong paint. I've got three pots of paint here in front of me open. And I go and put it in the wrong one. That's a silly mistake, isn't it? I wonder how I'm going to make the king match the princess. Why am I saying princess? Is this... I don't know. This doesn't strike me as the queen, if I'm honest with you. I feel like the queen might have more going. Certainly don't feel like I might have painted the queen in pink. Ajar, hi, how are you? So, thanks for dropping by. Nice to see you again. Right, nearly done this one. She is very much going to be a pink mouse. Oh, there we go. Quite a nice colour actually. I do like this. I just can't think of that many uses for it outside of an old school Slaanesh army. And thankfully this is probably one of the main places where I could think of using it would be on something like a pink frilly birthday dress or something like that. Which, surprisingly enough, they don't appear too often in wargaming sort of miniature design for whatever reason. Who would have thunk it? That actually looks pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. Right, pop her to one side. I don't know that I can necessarily include the king in the same sort of colour scheme without him looking a bit poncy. I'll tell you what, because they have actually shown a version of this guy on their website. So he's going to have this belt here. Ugh. And then his cloak, which sort of comes down here. Okay, that's fine, and then it sort of disappears up around here, like so. And then that ties the two of them together. They look like a lovely matching couple, or father and daughter. Because I swear I'm not misplaced in thinking that she is more of a princess rather than a queen. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading her body language wrong, and she is definitely queen material, but I don't think so. I don't think she's got it in her. Right, pop him to one side for now. Okay. Let's see if we can find some more music, because we appear to have run out. That'll do. So I just need to do this bit on him. Yo! Yes please, I barely touched that one.
You gonna drink the next one?
Yeah. Thank you. She's too good to me, really. I get away with far more than I deserve to. Right. Let's not beat about the bush with this guy. There's no need to start putting extra colours on him. Let's just do his belt in that purple, because I think that looks quite nice. I was hoping for a sort of lavender kind of colour here, but I think it's gone the other way. I think the pink has ended up on his belt, and the more sort of lavendery colour has ended up there, but never mind. Now I have got a nice very sharp knife, which I am just going to use to slice my fingers off. No, there's a tiny bit of flash just in there. Oh, too far, too far. Just prune that bit of flash out from there. There you go. It's not the neatest of repair jobs. That works. There we go. Right. He's looking pretty cool, actually. Quite like him. Not entirely sure what colours to do the bases. I'm thinking that they should probably be like a nice brownish sort of colour. Certainly not the same colour as I do my normal D&D bases, because I normally just paint them black, and I don't think that's going to look right at all. I think it might be time to paint some wood. Get some wood out of the way, shall we? Now, I think, honestly, I think most of this wood is going to be wildwood. I do like wildwood. It's this lovely, dark, rich colour that just seems right for a lot of this setting. Yeah, I'm a big fan of wildwood. This is beautiful. Whoa, we got a bubble. Never had a bubble before. Maybe I was being a bit violent with that. Right, wizard. Wizard gets a wizardy wand. Oh look, it's just like Harry Potter's wand. All gnarled and warty. Lovely job. The samurai dude can have his sword sheath painted in. That term that we've settled on, sheaths. I don't know what is correct terminology for a scabbard for a samurai sword. I mean, they're Japanese, so they name pretty much everything the same anyway, from what I can work out. Go. Just the two sword handles. Weirdly enough, the sword handles are probably what I should have painted in wood, but never mind. Leather is going to be a different matter. We're going to do leather a different colour, but the wood of the bow is going to be quite dark here, I think, so we're going to go wildwood on the bows. Both of these Ranger models have got almost exactly the same bow, although they call one of these guys a Ranger and the other's a Yeoman, apparently. Although which one and which way round, I wouldn't like to say. All I know is that one is a boy mouse and the other's a girl mouse. I mean, I can tell you how I know that difference, but then I'm pretty sure you might also be able to work that out anyway. Right, that's a bow. Yeah, the leather I'll do in a different colour, and his feather is going to be orange. Yeah, just so you know. And then this is Girl Ranger here. and she hasn't got a feather, so her orange is going to be her bra. Because, see, I told you there was a way I knew how this was a girl ranger. Or a girl mouse. Because I still don't know whether she's the ranger or the yeoman. Or maybe the clue is in the name. Yeoman. Can you get female yeoman? I mean, as I'm English and we invented the language, I don't really want to admit that I don't know what a yeoman is. I might have to Google it now. God damn. Will you just sit there for a minute? A free man who owns and cultivates his own land, often a small farmer. Well, I'm not entirely sure how Robin Hood there constitutes a yeoman, but I'll take it. Right, let's have a look. So, out of the models that we've done so far, we haven't got a huge amount more Woody to do, and I think that because he's no, well, apparently not according to Google. Google says it's a modern uses of the term can also refer to a petty officer in the US Navy, a specific role in the UK's ceremonial bodyguard, yeoman of the guard, or even a web application development tool. This is obviously the AI overview of a Google search, so I'm not going to look into the sources of it or anything, because who's got time for that? Term also historically denoted a member of the middle ranks of servants in a royal or noble household. There you go. Every day's a school day, as my school teacher liked to say. Right. Enough of that. Let's go back to our lovely, lovely mouseling. Now, what have we got? It's time for some leather. So I'm just going to go along and pick out all the bags and belts and buckles and bits and pieces that I can in this lovely Gore-Grunter fur, which I believe is now a much nicer leather colour than snakebite leather. I think snakebite leather has kind of fallen a bit by the wayside. So we're just going to come along. It is definitely a different colour. It's a richer, more orangey colour than snakebite leather. But I think it's a nicer colour. Thank you. Must try and remember to get up in front of the camera again. Go. So, if you're just joining us, this is, or these are, mouselings. Little tiny Reaper Bones miniatures. The quality on them, I dropped it. quality on them is, it's not debatable. The quality on them is not great for sort of regular mainstream miniatures, but for little D&D things, they are absolutely perfect. And they are a great little incentive to get your young ones playing. You know, look at the druid carrying his bee into battle. Don't lose your bee, buddy. Don't lose your bee. Right. So just do all of these bags. Out a little bit for everyone there. See, he's looking cracking as well. Lovely little mouseling rogue. And by the end of this, we should have a sort of full complement of characters and classes almost. We've got, you know, the standard that a 9-year-old is going to want to play as anyway. Fighter, rogue, wizard, that sort of thing. And they were only like, I think they were about £4 or £5 for a pair. So obviously these come in little pairings. And I think they were only about £4 or £5 for a pairing of 2 miniatures, which you can't really complain at. Well, I mean, you can if you're a prick. I mean, I have been known to complain about shit like that before, but I won't. Not for this. Just, I quite like Reaper. There's an extremely nice amount of casting detail that they tend to get in on some of their older metal miniatures. And then you've got just a bunch of fun stuff like this. You know, these little fun dudes and dudettes that go to make up various different armies and specials and what have you as part of their range. I really like a range that has miniatures that don't take themselves too seriously. Poke a bit of fun at themselves, you know, things like this. The sort of special edition stuff that sometimes comes out of different manufacturers can be quite the same as well. And Reaper have their own sort of little traditions of special edition miniatures and the like that are here, there and everywhere. I just got a little bit on his sleeve. Oh well, can't go back and correct it now, it's too late for that. What's done is done. I should have been more careful. There we go. Nice little bit of leather or whatever on him. Lovely job. the king hasn't got an awful lot of leather on him. So that's it for them. I'm not sold on the king and the princess models at the moment. There's a couple in the range. I haven't touched, apart from doing the faces on them, I haven't touched this magic pairing here. We'll call them the staff buddies. I haven't touched the ninja and the geisha. Oh, I forgot to do the geisha's tail. Should have done that. Mostly because I can't remember how I'm going to paint the geisha's face. She surely she should be all covered in white makeup, I would have thought. And the ninja is, I can't remember why I haven't painted him. I'll get round to him in a bit. I haven't done much with the Viking and the Valkyrie, and I haven't done much with the Conan and Sonya pairing, but I will have a look at those. I'll possibly come to those later in the string, because it's a here's my lovely tea. It's green tea. Don't judge me. Because with it being a bank holiday weekend, it means that I actually have a little bit of extra string time. I'm not under obligations as to how long I can stream or what have you, but it just means that I don't have to worry too much about running out of weekend, because we get an extra 2 days for Easter here in the UK. We have Good Friday and Easter Monday off. Their bank holidays, which means that when the banks don't work, neither does nobody else, because that's the way things are. Yeah, where were we? I want to just put a coat of flesh on this dude, Hero Quest dude. Who, as I was saying earlier, I have his brother, Hero Quest dude, the resculpted version, which not a lot of people have seen, actually. I know I did show it at the start of the stream, but yeah, it's a resculpted white metal version, cast up by a guy I met off of Facebook. Sort of a bit more anatomically correct than the old dude, but there is a certain charm about the old guy. Which we're going to paint in his skin now, and then he will sit on the shelf ready to be a bad guy in my next campaign. Oh, hang on. A bit of flash there as well. Not perfect, but it's gone now. Yeah, I do keep an eye out, dependent upon the minis that I have available, for ideas for my campaigns, because obviously having an idea for a big bad evil guy is quite important at times, and sometimes you don't have the idea about who or what or why the big bad evil guy is until you actually have a miniature for him. So yeah, and this guy is now going to be making an appearance, I think, in a campaign coming to a table near you soon. I do actually need to have a think about my campaign statuses at the moment as to where I am with what I'm playing. The campaign that I'm playing in is not too bad. The problem is the one that I'm DMing. I have a feeling, unfortunately, that some of my players might not actually be able to return to the table through health reasons, which is a really horrible position for them and me, because it's not like their characters have died and they're gonna be written out, or that they're gonna have a suitable ending. It's just a case of I don't think they're going to be well enough to return to the table. The rest of the players will kind of need to come to a decision about what we do, whether we carry on and leave a space open for them indefinitely. Their character might level outside of what we do, but is that realistic? Is that fair on the rest of them? Or do we just say, nope, that's it, their character's dead and gone and he's no more? Don't really want to do that, because the health problems might actually not be recoverable from, to the point of right. I think he's going to wait for another day, because he's quite an important mini, and I don't really want to make a start on him without right. I've got a couple of others here. I always keep a few off to the side. The mouse things are just on pause a little bit while everything dries off, because the next few stages I don't want to get anything bleeding in. So we're going to paint two of our lizards. These are hunting drakes from the Legend of Drizzt box set. And we're going to paint them in green, and then we're going to think up another colour to paint the last one. I might do it green as well, but maybe a different shade of green. I might go for something a bit more vibrant. So I'm going to do these two, I think, in Militarum green. And then I am thinking maybe we'll go with something like Achelion green for the last one, or maybe Pterodon turquoise. We'll see how that comes out. I don't know. Do you think Militarum green? It's almost like it's not a natural green, isn't it? Let's try painting one of them and see how it comes out. Now these guys are going to be... Ooh, they have got a swage line down the middle of them where there's a sort of above and below colour. So I'm gonna do the tops of them in this. Use that line. all the way along. And then maybe we'll come along with a sort of slightly paler colour underneath. Is that what we think? Is that how it should go? I don't know. Or I could just slap the paint on them and leave them all one colour, which wouldn't be a bad thing because they are very, very simple models. Just when you need a sort of raptor kind of model to put on the table. I don't actually know what one of these would represent other than something like a raptor. I assume they had a role in the board game, which I've never actually played. I've got all of them. Well, I say all of them. I've got all of these board games that I've picked up in order to have the miniatures. There's a few that I'm still missing out there. I must remember to keep it on camera. Keep it on camera. I need to put like a target marker down and say, don't go off your mark. Keep it on the mark. I'm thinking I might just paint it all green and just be done with it, because it is a very, very simple model for a simple need on the tabletop. Although that is actually quite nice, doesn't it? Oh, have I missed a bit? I've missed it. Oh, there, right. Right, let's pull that further down here and just blend it in, and then just run down there as well on that flank of him, and then the rest of it I am going to come along with a sort of yellowy type colour. So I think we'll do 2 in that shade, and then 1 we're gonna do him a bit. Oh, we could go for markings, couldn't we? And we could make differentiation in the markings. I think that might be what we do. That would be quite good fun, I think. Then we get to paint some like raptor stripes down the sides of them. Almost like a tiger stripe sort of effect. Right, there we go. That is number 2. Now, do I or don't I? That be my question. So, pros and cons. The green's actually quite nice. So that would be a pro for painting it green. Con, all of my other threesomes have very slight variations, but one of them as a main variant. Yeah, hold on just a second. So we have no, I think I'm gonna stick with my gut and paint. What am I going to do with him? He could be a blue raptor. He could be a red raptor. That would be pretty special. No, I don't like the idea of red. I want to do him in... I want to do him in Achelion green. Oh, there we go. Knocking the mic. Knock the mic with my hand. I knock the camera with my hat. Just a big klutz, really. I'm trying to keep in the back of my head. I've got a big boy here as well that I really would like to start getting some paint on, because again, he's going to be a character that's cropping up in a campaign, and I'd love to get some paint on him. And in fact, I'm looking at this Achelion green, and I'm thinking, whoa, that would be a nice colour for a cloak. Let's see how it looks on a raptor. If I do this guy in Achelion green, what colour am I going to do his maybe I don't do his lower half any colour. I do the whole thing in Achelion, and then I make his stripes a completely different colour. Yeah, not sold on it, but we'll make it work somehow. It is certainly a lot nicer when you're just painting something one colour to just slap it on and watch that contrast effect. I still can't get over it. I do love the way that pooling action works. Yeah, I do like the way contrast works. Yeah, all right, it's fine. You know, it's cheating. Blah. You're never going to get a good result. Blah. Don't care. They're not grey anymore. Although, to be fair, these ones, I've just realised, these ones that I have just finished painting green started out life green. Great. That is a stunning colour. Why have I not? Oh, I have. I know what I have used this on. And it is something I will show you in just a moment. So anyone who's been keeping up with the streams will know that I scored a haul the other day off of, believe it or not, Facebook Marketplace. Deals can be had still, people, believe it or not. There are still people out there selling things on Facebook Marketplace who don't all have an extra chromosome. So I managed to pick up some Chaos Space Marines, which I'm really enthusiastic about, because Chaos Space Marines were one of my first 40k armies. I loved my 40k army. I played an awful lot of games with my Chaos Space Marines, and I have thought several times about redoing them. However, being an adult and having access to adult funds, means that the bane of second edition armies, which was the fact that anything that was metal was expensive and all the rest of it, meant that there were certain models that were quite rare. And believe it or not, with the Chaos Space Marine army, the models that were quite rare was the plastic multi-part miniatures. Multi-part, I hear you say? Yes, that's right, multi-part. Plastic multi-part miniatures. I'll show you what I mean. These bad boys. These bad boys were basically a two-piece. They were head and torso moulded as one, legs moulded as one piece. You could swap and change, so you had two design of legs. You had this one which was sort of doing a bit of a dance step, and then you had this one which was kind of slide to the left. Then arms, shoulder pads and weapons were separate. Now what I am toying with is I would like to do a second edition army. Now the haul that I picked up had about 50 of these in it, which is huge, because that now allows me to do regular and veteran Chaos Space Marine squads at scale. So I can you know, they were the models that were mostly missing. Now one of the things I have been toying with is what Legion to do them, and I quite like the idea of doing Night Lords, because Night Lords were the second edition poster boys. So I think that this, which is my standard painting method, will actually work for Night Lords, because I'm going to come along here with a nice really dark blue. Before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch on the lightning bolts in pure Corax white. And then when I go over it with the contrast paint, that should leave the lightning bolt as a sort of relief. You'll be able to see it through there. And then I can just come in and just do a very, very tiny highlight line through the middle of it, and that will be the lightning bolts done. The other thing that I quite like the idea of is Alpha Legion. Now this one is a bit weird, because when I sprayed this one, I think it might have been a bit cold in my shed, because I've had a little bit of paint spray effect go on there. But one of the ways that I was thinking of doing Alpha Legion was that Archelion green over a silver spray paint. So this one has actually been spray painted zenithally downwards. And I'm going to come along and dry brush this one, but I just wanted to get a proof of concept out of the way, and I think that obviously this one could have really done with having this nibbly knobbly bit there cleaned up before doing it, but again, it was just a proof of concept. I think that Archelion green over a silver base coat is actually going to look really, really nice, and that will be Alpha Legion. So I'm going to have a mixed army of Night Lords and Alpha Legion. I'm quite looking forward to that. Obviously that's not Cat Space. That's a regular second edition box set Marine. Got a few of them. I actually still like them as models. I know they've been scale creeped to all hell and back, but I still think they're quite nice models. Certainly worthy of a, you know, a place in the history books, as it were. Right, I've got two storm giants. Storm giants? Yes, storm giants. Two of them. One which looks like Temu Zeus, And then this guy, which looks like Thor from Wish, with a sword instead of a hammer. But man, do they look good. And I've just realised Achelion green is totally what I want to do his sword in for lightning bolts. So we have maybe it's not. Maybe I want to do Pterodon turquoise. We'll see. We'll see. What I can do though is I can come along with, where is that? Where is the colour? Athematic blue. Now this is a colour that I don't often get to use. I don't get to play with this very much. But I do love it when I do get to play with it, because it is one of those absolutely striking colours that that you really know that when you're using it, sort of thing. Show you what I mean, because this is something that I've been wanting to do since I got this set of giants. Because yes, there's a set of giants. The box game is called Assault of Giants, and they are entirely the wrong scale. The human sized models in that, was that the first time I've opened this? It could well have been. The human sized models in this are tiny. They are really, really small. And unfortunately it means that the giants have been slightly underscaled, because if this was a real cloud giant it would probably be about that tall, if not more, because they are not cloud giant, a real storm giant, because they are huge. Now all I'm going to do is paint that lightning all over in this Athematic blue. Look at that. That is the absolute perfect use for that paint. Just 100% the perfect use for that paint. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if lightning bolts was exactly what that paint was designed to paint. How many times can I say paint in a sentence? Painting lightning bolts is exactly what that paint was designed to paint. Good old Athematic blue, yeah. What I'm going to do is I'll paint all of this in the perfect lightning bolt paint. Ooh. That's going to come out quite nice, and then I'm going to come along with Achelion or Pterodon turquoise and maybe put that on some of the like lower facings. Maybe we'll see how this looks once it's dried and gone off. Oh wow, these lightning bolts run all through his legs as well. Oh no, I think I've got some on his chest there. Yeah, I did. Never mind. That'll hopefully. Hang on. Just see if I can wick that away. Yeah, that's fine. Ish. Fine-ish. Fine-ish is basically fine, isn't it? Oh, God. Trying to get every angle, nook and cranny on this colour is a bit daunting, because it does sit in some weird places on this lightning bolt. Look at that. Get all round there. Go on, get. But that is just an absolutely perfect colour for that. Wow, that is amazing. Right, let's see if we can wick away that there where it's too much. Oh, wow. Okay, we did go a bit over the top there. In places, we've managed to get it spattering all over his base, which is kind of a cool thing, but also not. Oh, just missed the top there as well. There's always a bit of it that you missed. Now, let's see if we can scoop back in there before that sets and goes off, and then done. Because we've got to save our precious contrast paint where we can, because the stuff's not cheap. Although that being said, I bought it from my friendly local game store when they first came out, and I was about the only person. I walked in there and I said, pre-order me the whole set, because I heard about them coming out and I was like, that sounds like a bit of me. I want that. I want that in my life. And he did. He pre-ordered me the entire set, and I've never looked back. I've been so happy with contrast paints when I first got them. I do still paint from time to time, but purely now I'm in a get rid of the grey. That's my gut feeling now, is just get rid of it. And eventually I'll have no grey left to worry about. They'll all be gone. Right, I think that the bottom of those lizards should be Agaros Dunes. Kind of a yellow, but not quite yellow. It's not Nazdreg or Iandan, which are both very, very vibrant colours that I don't really like. And this one, however, is hopefully going to look perfect. Yeah, I think that looks perfect already. Brilliant. Happy with that. There we go. Very, very simple, very, very quick, very, very easy. Now, what we do have with these guys is the opportunity to paint some markings and what have you on them. So I'm thinking on the backs of these guys, we want to go almost like a dark blue. I think that would work for the backs of these green ones. And then for the back of the blue one, I'm thinking a red, a sort of reddish colour might actually work quite nicely. Okay, that looks pretty good. Happy with that. So we've got one more of these guys to do. Yes, that's looking good. We're keeping it nice and simple. There's a few mistakes in there, but we're not actually that bothered about it. These are about the simplest miniatures I own. They represent a feral hunting lizard thing, which I don't actually even know if there's much that these can represent. Like I say, I'm sure they mean something in the board game that they came from, but what do they mean outside of it in the broader sense of D&D? I don't know. Hunting drakes, are they a thing? I guess they might be. Right, there we go. That's 2 hunting drakes, which are going to have sort of dark blue stripes and what have you. And then this one is going to have some markings in red. Now, I don't know if just painting red contrast on top of that blue is actually going to look any good, but we're going to find out because we're about to do it. Now, do we reckon a Hellion green over the top of that other green? Actually, I don't. I reckon Pterodon turquoise is our. I reckon Pterodon turquoise is our boy for that. My self-healing mat is starting to get all dirty already. I can't believe it. Thought it would last a little bit longer before I splurged all over it, but unfortunately not. Just something to spice them up a little bit, because yes, they are very, very boring miniatures, but just having a little something on them just enough to stop them from being completely bland. And it doesn't need to be much, and it's not like it's actually taken me very long to do this extra detail, and it's all just being done in contrast paints anyway. So let's run that line down to the front of the head as well, shall we, just to there we go. Now, just to emphasize the predatory nature of them, we're just going to bring a couple of stripes down their backs. And then also just a couple of stripes this way. I think that's quite nice actually. Quite pleased with how that looks. Gone from a very simple miniature into something that looks a little bit menacing almost. I can put them out on the tabletop and my players will be like, oh, okay, there's a threat. And then they realise that it's like CR1 or whatever these things are supposed to be. Or if they're anything like my players, they're just like, okay, what do I need to roll to hit it? No thought, no fear, no. They're almost like, oh cool, it's a Taras. Right, what's that thing's armour class? Yes. But my players do generally have no fear, which is it's like, how do you deal with that? Because you can't. Sometimes when you're trying to get across to your players that something is a really bad idea, because you don't want to kill them. That's not how the game works. You're not trying to kill them. You're supposed to be throwing tasks at them that could result in their death, but you're not actively trying to kill them. So, I mean, I don't know how other people tend to deal with that. I have on occasion said, do you really want to do something? And they've said yes. And I say, well, in that case, I'm going to ask you to make an intelligence check for your character. So, just to see if your character would know the kind of danger that you're putting it in, and would it do what you want it to do? And if they succeed in their test, you're just like, look, your character thinks about doing what you've said to me, and then it just goes, oh god, that would have been an absolutely colossally stupid idea. That's a so-and-so there. That will eat me alive. Okay, we have 2 greens and a blue, and I'm actually really pleased with the look on those greens. That's come out really nicely. I might have to start finishing off some bases so that I can actually you know, put these models on screen for you guys, and you can see what they actually look like finished. Now, what do we reckon? Do we reckon this red is actually going to stand out on that blue, or do we think I would have needed to re-base coat before I do this? Let's have a look. I think we'll be fine. Do you know what? We are absolutely going to be fine there. That's bloody bold of it, to be fair. See, these contrast paints surprise me time and time again. Ooh. So this is why I really like that these models come in packs of 3. I say packs, they come in the set as a 3 for most of these models. So the spiders that I've got came as 3s. These guys come as 3s. The wolves, I've still got the wolves to do. I haven't yet done. And then obviously these guys in a threesome, and having that 3 lets you, wow, that's come out really, really nice. I'm properly pleased with that. That red is super visible even on the blue. It might dry a little bit different, but that has come out really nice. As I'm saying, the fact that you get 3 of them lets you change it up, and I really like doing that, where you get 2 painted basic bog standard, and then an extra one that that just breaks the mold a little bit. I'll show you what I mean, because I've done it with a couple of the others as well. We have bears, which is obviously 2 fairly standard brown bears, both of which have had one of which has had a little bit more detail painted in his mouth than the other one, mostly because I used this one in a campaign as a barbarian bear. So it was a moon druid barbarian cross. And then the other one, I didn't want to use this in the campaign because I figured it might be too much, but you can possibly see where I've painted some runes on, a few markings and what have you on the model, just to throw people off a little bit. And then he's got a little bit over his eyes, he's got a little streak over each eye. So that's the bears. And then we have giant snakes. Lovely snake models, actually. Really, really nice snake models. Except one of them is in red to just to differentiate from them. So, you know, you've got your standard ones in green, which are, I mean, these are super poisonous and super venomous, and this one is like ultra venomous, maybe. So, yeah, I have quite good fun painting these. Oh, I forgot to do while I had the red out. I've got my spiders here. Now I'm just going to pop that little bit of red here. Just as a little warning marking on the back end of this spider. See, that's pretty cool. I don't know what to do on this one. This is my dry brushed brown spider, which I'm actually super pleased with. He is icky looking, to say the least. But I think that he might need a marking, and I'm wondering about whether or not to do a bit of white on him and maybe paint a white skull. Let's have a look at just have a look at spider images just to see whether we've got any. I mean, it's amazing that we've allowed any of these spider things to exist on the same planet as us. Perhaps that's why Elon Musk is so keen to fly off to Mars or something, because looking up, I tell you what, don't ever do what I just did, which is look up spider markings. Nothing good can ever come of it. Yeah, nothing good can ever come of looking up spider markings. I'll tell you that now for a fact. Apart from giving you the ick. I think what we might do is just see about painting on a bit of a sort of sketchy markings like this. I'm trying to paint it on so that it doesn't look unnatural, which is quite awkward to do, to be fair. want it to look a bit like sort of spider hairs, really. It just looks like sort of markings made by different coloured hairs and what have you. That that's not too bad a look. Oh bugger, slipped out my hand there. Doing quite well at it. Right, so that's a little bit of marking on the back of him there. And then what I'm going to do is just ever so slightly on the front of each segment of leg. I don't want it to look like a highlight, I want it to look a bit like a band, but I don't want it to be a full, I don't want it to be a full band, if you know what I mean. It's kind of difficult to come up with natural markings almost on the fly, because you end up painting something and you're going, oh well, that might look quite good, and then you're like, it doesn't look shit. I'm very pleased with what happened on the back of his body. Not so much on what I've done with the legs, but again, I'm not a man for going back on an action once it's done. So once it's done, that is it done, and we learn to live with it. We learn to love it. And actually, now I'm looking at it, it is vaguely terrifying, which is all I could really ask for. Yeesh, nearly. Okay, that'll do. That'll do, pig, that'll do. My wife hates it when I say that to her. I don't know why. It's just off of the film Babe, isn't it? And the farmer's really pleased with his pig. He goes, that'll do, pig, that'll do. But she sometimes just takes offence at it. Women, never understand them. Oh, really? Okay, that's actually looking pretty swish now. Just need it to be a basic breaking up of the one colour dry brushed mess, and that's not looking too bad now. Sort of something that you might be afraid of if you met it in your washing pile. Yeah, happy with that. Not going to do anything up the top there. Not going to do anything more with these. I suppose we could do a little something with these mandibles, couldn't we? Make a bit of a statement piece there. There we go. Right, awesome. Happy with that. Like I say, that now sits quite nicely in my where's the white though? Ah, there. In my threesome of spiders, you know, my where we have a different. Oh. So that's the third one with a with a bright red skull marking on them. So you know, each of the spiders looks a little bit different. It's just nice to put it down in front of your players, and you can actually go, well, actually that's a different spider. So if you have rules for two different kinds of spiders, one of them's more deadly than the other, you can differentiate them. You can say, well, actually the one with the red skull on its back is the one that's really poisonous. The other two are just sort of kind of poisonous. Or you can go the other way around. You can go the brown one is the deadliest one. But I think that's quite nice with the sort of little markings that he's got there. That's actually enough to just sort of make them stand out. And it's quite natural markings as well, I think. You know, the sort of bands going on. Quite like that. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of my own work, which is always a good thing. The lightning bolts on that giant have drained right down to the base of him, to the point that they are leaking off. Still quite happy with it. I'm going to have to let that one dry right off, and then what I'm going to come along and do is use one of those greens that we've just been using to shade that, and then I'm also going to use a little bit of white on there to bring the highlights up on the lightning bolts, because I think that's now going to stand out really, really nicely. What I do need to do though is look up let's just see if we've got any nice images of how. There we go. So those miniatures were actually, it looks like, done as Wizards did this sometimes, where they released two versions of it, a pro and a standard, and the standard ones, everything was unpainted, just clear plastic, just plain plastic, and then the pro version, they had sort of like clear plastic areas, and they were coloured as well. And I think that's what they've done here. Now they have gone for a sort of greyish flesh tone, which is quite interesting. White eyes, white beard, yeah, I can get behind that. That's really looking nice. Quite a lot of silver on them. That's you know, armour. That's cool. I can live with that. Not really sure about the green. Yeah, there's a few bits that we need to work out on that. I think definitely a few bits we can work out on there. Yeah, that's going to be a good fun one to paint, I reckon. What about the other big board? Plenty of ways that we can paint these. Painting the storm giant, yeah. Okay, no, that's cool. We can certainly get some painted miniatures going. Yeah, cool. Right. Let's pop these away. So that's now part of the finished pile, isn't it? Those little green drakes. Excellent. The spiders are part of the finished pile. The bears were already part of the finished pile, but you know. And then we had. Oh, that's cool. We've got some nice beasts done now. We've got our Hero Quest Sorcerer done as well. He can go into the pile of finished stuff. These Storm Giants, you're going to have to stay on the map. You haven't painted yet, so you can go up there. Now, we can have another quick look at our Mouselings. How are we getting on with these guys? Right. Let's have a look at our tiny little bit of metallics on them, because there are just a couple of little spots where we have metallics. They are few and far between on these minis because they're so tiny. There's so little going on with them. Some of the ones that I haven't chosen to paint are some of the ones with a bit more metal going on. So what I might do is I might paint those now while we're here. Like I say, I do love how simple that sword is. Just a fantastically simple little mod. That's got to be the most uncomplicated knife sculpt ever. Look at that. Isn't that just amazing how they've sculpted that knife? It is just literally a triangle. I love it. I do absolutely love that. All these notifications going on. Oh, low battery. That's good. Let's see if we can improve your battery a little bit. Ah. Uh-oh. I don't want all of those things. Sorry, excuse me, while I'm just playing with my phone. Oh. Right, that will do there. Paint the end of her arrowhead in metal, can't we? Just to, you know, indulge her. This guy hasn't got an arrowhead because all of his arrows are tucked away. He's pacifist. He's a pacifist archer. Maybe. She doesn't have any metal on her. Now he does have a stick of sticking. Ooh, nearly. Ooh, hang on. Isn't it funny how things just come to you all of a sudden? So the other day on stream, I was sat there, I was painting Jarl Axel. And I was like, what is his faction? I cannot remember his faction. And now today, just as I went to paint the chest plate on this guy, which bears no resemblance to Jarl Axel or anything, I just had a thought come into my head that went, he's with the Bragan Death. I was like, oh. It's literally while you're sat there wanting to remember something, you can't do it. And then 2 days later, while you're doing something completely unrelated, I mean, it's still the same thing. I'm still painting, I guess, but you know, I'm painting something completely unrelated to Jarl Axel or the Bragan Dare. And I remember what his faction's called. It's bizarre. Sorry for that unasked for stream of consciousness there, but you know, if I have to experience it, so do you. Just paint in his crown. Now, his crown is going to be gold, as all good and rightful kings are. but the way I do it is I will hit that with a contrast paint coat over the top. So it will get a sort of yellowy colour contrast over the top of it to make it gold. There we go. Right. It is pushing on. I do have work to be doing tomorrow. I know I've mentioned a couple of times about how it's a weekend off of sorts. Unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as that, in that I do have some work on the cars to do over this little break. However, I do have next week off. So whilst I have some bits and pieces to be doing, it would be quite nice if I can get a little bit of extra streaming time in as and when that's appropriate. On that note, I think I am probably going to bring the stream to a close because it is getting on a little bit. It's now nearly midnight here in the UK, and I do have to get up tomorrow. So I thank everybody who has dropped by for the stream. It's been really, really nice and relaxed today. Just literally painting something that's a little bit different from the norm. We've had a bit of a blast here with our samurai dude. Look at him, cool dude, ready to go out and take some names. Might have to do a little bit on the eyes. I don't think it'd be terribly hard to do the eyes on these guys. And they are going to be quite simple. We've then got our wizardy wizard. We've got our female ranger. Yeah, quite possibly the eyes do need a little something on these. I'm very glad that I stopped to do the muzzles beforehand, because that's made quite a difference to some of these minis. They look a lot nicer with that done. I like that one. I love that one. Haven't yet done his cloak, but I will get round to that. It's not going to be white, unfortunately. We have our little druid here. I need to give him some colouring soon. And our other one here with his weird berry thing, which now that I've painted it, it all seems to have blended into one colour anyway. So it was a fun attempt. Yeah, like I say, folks, that is it for this evening. I've had a really nice stream, nice relaxing one. Got a chance to experiment with some non-regular stuff that I've been doing, and got to show you a bit about what we're going to be looking at coming up in the future on future streams. So, without further ado, I shall bring the stream to a close. I am back tomorrow evening. Fingers crossed I do not break anything while I'm working on the car. But no, I do plan to be back tomorrow as normal. So until then, thank you very much for attending, and I will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Toodaloo.